escaping the realm of darkness. The paranormal guys are on a quest to find the answers to the hard questions of where the normal meets the paranormal, and the weird, and where the natural meets the unnatural. So grab your holy water, call your mama, and get ready for the Paranormal Guys podcast.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka boom.
Boom. All right, we're back again. It's not like we can get canceled. We're the ones who make this and put it out on outlets.
Well, I could get canceled
Well,
very easily, but I won't say anything that will get me canceled.
Well, let's
by,
hope not.
by
I have
Neil.
to admit, lately you've been getting kind of close, man. You know?
Yeah? Am I a little bit too close to the line?
Yeah, you're getting there. You're getting there. I'm being honest with you.
I'm not. I've been very.
Episodes,
I
don't know.
haven't said anything bad, done anything wrong.
Well, first we had the kid who died. He went to the dentist thing.
That's just a tale to let people know that, go there now.
Then the next following week, you start swearing.
I did let an F word come out. I apologize.
Yeah, you let a bomb drop.
I hope you edited that out before.
Oh yeah, it's edited. I figured something out.
Right. And take out that part where you said those mean things about my mom.
About what?
No, I'm just kidding, Mom.
I'm like, about what? When I
my
say
mother.
mean things about, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today.
Hey, when are you going to give her that autograph, by the way, Neil? So people tuning in, my mom kind of, she's kind of obsessed with Neil, and not really, but she'll watch the podcast. Hi, Ma, and she'll go, "That was really good. I really liked I like that Neil guy. Like, I'm on the show too, Mom."
Yeah.
But she did want an autograph picture of you that you promised, and every time I talked to her, she asked me, and I go, "Well, Neil's kind of a busy guy, and
Not really lately. But
well, say something nice to her."
Miss Lineweber, I apologize. I will get you one. I do I've never, to be honest with you, I never did a photo shoot where I got pictures of Neil and I signed them or anything like that.
You ever go to Glamour Shots?
What's that?
At the Glamour Shots at the mall.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that? Glamour Shots?
Oh,
yeah.
That was
and
before selfies.
Part of that, but I remember all the girls, because they had those big 80 hairdos.
They'd spray their hair with that
all that Aquanet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Tear down the ozone layer because of those Glamour Shots.
Yeah, I remember that. That's weird.
Yeah,
that's weird.
So he'll get you a picture. We just have to get him. We have to find a Glamour Shots that's still open.
Get me all the Aquanet you can get.
Yeah, I saw something where they had a Blockbuster Video. There's like one Blockbuster Video store left in the world.
Yeah, I watched a video. I think it was on Netflix. It was a while ago about the last Blockbuster Video shop. And I had to be. I'm actually perturbed by this. Should I use the word perturbed? I don't know if that's.
Yeah, you could try. It's a big word.
It's a big word, but I'm a little fella. Is that why can't we have these anymore? I mean, why does everything have to be streamed in? I understand it's easy to get that, but you want to know, when my kids were small, I used to love always going to the video stores and go get the videotapes, or when they turned to DVDs. Go there, and then you get your little snacks, and everybody get their little videos, and you'd have it 3 to 5 days, something like that.
And all you had to go by was like the cover and reading the back description on the box. They would put those little displays out. You didn't know what you're going to see. Now you're like looking for reviews. Oh, this person didn't like it. You get all this stuff ahead of time. I like the old days where you walk in and you don't know what you're going to get. You put in the VCR and you watch it. And
well, I don't even have a VCR anymore, as most of us all don't. I don't even have a DVD player. I don't have it. Why? Because I have everything in my fingertip of my remote control. But the one thing I don't like, all right, take, for instance, the movie Wonka came out, right? I want to watch the movie Wonka. But I'm the only one who wants to watch the movie Wonka. Am I going to spend $20? when you went to the video store and they came out, it was like $5.99 or $5, whatever. But
Yeah, but that's
but in the
not.
yeah.
It just came out. It's not even. It's not even available to rent online.
Well, no, it is. I can go
Oh, it
on.
is,
I can go on. What is it? Amazon.
and it's $20 to rent
It's
it for
$20, and that
what?
lasts like 4 to 5 weeks, like that. The $20. Then they reduce it down to the $5.99 or
Oh,
$7.99, whatever.
and then a week later, it's available on Prime.
Yeah, or they'll go to whatever. All right, like let's say Wonka was a Paramount film.
Yeah.
So within a month or two, I could wait a month or two, and it'll be free on Paramount because I have a subscription to Paramount.
Would
Something like
you?
that.
Would you? Like, there's something that you really wanted to see. Um, Give me an example of something that might be coming up that you'd really want to see right when it comes out.
Oh, like, all right. So there's Wolverine versus Deadpool. There's
All
a new
right.
Deadpool movie coming out. Deadpool 3, I think it is. And Wolverine, Hugh Jackman's back as Wolverine. I want to see that. I love stuff like that. So I want to be able to see that. Am I going to probably go to movie theater to see it? More than likely. But if I
Mm-hmm.
don't have time, then I'm going to have to wait till it comes on Amazon. And if I'm the only one again in the house who wants to see it, I now have to spend $20. That's my
Yeah.
point to this is if you're going to put it out, you're going to make it accessible to people.
Just
$20.
have patience, and you'll save some money.
Yeah, I guess. Well, let me
Yeah.
get to this real quick, Steve. So
Okay.
today's date is 3/20/24, and you're listening to me and Steve. Or if you're on YouTube, you're seeing me and Steve and listening to me and Steve,
Mhm.
which I always sometimes recommend, especially
You
like
always sometimes recommend.
always, always,
Always, but sometimes.
but sometimes.
No, it's doesn't. I always recommend, or I sometimes recommend, but always sometimes.
Well, I always recommend that you see the evidence if we present evidence to you to switch over to YouTube so you can see what we're talking about. Because sometimes actually some of the evidence is really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that you're able to see it as well. I wish a lot of these streaming things would be able to just do all video, but I understand that people are driving and they're listening to the podcast like I do, and you can't do that. That's illegal. And you
Have you seen that Apple thing that they have now? That little visor. People are wearing it while they're driving. It's like a
no,
Apple virtual reality headset,
no.
and people are driving and they're like wearing this thing over their eyes, and they're like swiping it. Supposedly you can see through or something like that. Like you can see the real world through it, and then they're like doing apps while they're driving.
Not me,
You're
man. That would be a distraction. See, that's how people are going to get hurt. So here, let me tell you what happened to me recently. Okay, this happened
Mhm.
yesterday. I'm driving to take my dog to the pet store, right, to go get shots at the medical center.
Okay.
And
Rabies.
no, no, no,
Oh.
not rabies. No,
I heard there's a coyote in your neighborhood. That's why
oh yeah, yeah.
I
There's
asked.
lots of coyotes in my neighborhood, but no, just update the shots. And this little old lady in the Walmart parking lot, I don't know how she did it because I was pulling in when it happened. I didn't see it exactly when it exactly happened, but after the fact, she flipped her car all the way upside down.
An old lady flipped her car over.
Little old lady. And all you see is
Well, how
this
does she
little
do
old,
that?
dude, I don't know. I drove
She
in at the
lifted her
time.
car and threw it over like the Hulk.
Yeah.
Wait, what are you talking about? She
No, no,
lifted
no,
her
no, no,
car.
no, no. She was driving.
Oh, okay.
And I understand, I came in at the time when I'm seeing this car upside down, and all
Okay.
these emergency vehicles were coming in, and this little this little old lady, she's and I'm saying slim, I would say she was in her 70s,
That's not
is
old.
coming out of this car, and the little the airbags they all blew off in her face, and
Nice.
all around the car, and she's crawling out of this car. And her face is all bright red from probably being smacked by these bags, airbags.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm like this. I'm like, oh my god, that lady's lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Maybe she was trying to end it.
No, I no, she was probably shopping at the Walmart, and I wish I knew what exactly happened. But you can't go run up to people and say, "Hey, what happened?" They're all busy trying to help this little old lady.
Hey, lady, you can't park there.
You can't park there, lady. Get the hell out of here.
Get out of
I
here.
was just trying to get my Depends, and all of a sudden I'm leaving the parking lot, and boom.
You say 70, but dude, that's like a minute away for us if you think about it.
No, it's not. We still got some
70s.
time, man.
No,
We still
not
got
a
some
lot.
time.
We're like in our 50s.
A
It's gonna
blink of an
happen
eye, huh? Blink of an
fast.
eye. All
And we're
right.
gonna be 70s, and then we're gonna be flipping our car over and
Wearing
pooping
our
our
Depends.
Depends.
Wearing our
Pooping our
Depends.
Depends. Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I got a question for you. So,
Yeah.
if we're wearing Depends, are you changing your Depends, or is your loved one
No,
changing your Depends?
my daughter's a nurse.
Oh,
No, I'm
so
just
she'll
kidding.
take care of dad?
I'm not gonna do that. It won't. Yeah, it's not gonna be a problem, dude. I'm not gonna have them. Um, I, I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be like that, dude.
No, not gonna be
No,
like that. All right. Hey, good for you. I hope it's not. I hope it doesn't happen for either of us.
I
But you
guess it
never know.
just depends.
It just depends. It depends on what's going to happen down the future. Yes, it just depends.
Oh boy.
Very good, Steve, with your dad jokes again.
Thank
All
you.
right. So, Steve, what's cooking in with the Steve world? Anything new?
I started my own cult.
Nice.
It's
Nice.
very exclusive though. You're probably not weird enough to be in
What?
it.
I'm not weird enough.
So,
Come on.
yeah. No, not a lot. Not a lot. I didn't really create a cult, guys. That takes a lot of work, and I'd probably have to use ChatGPT to get it done.
And you got to have a lot of sacrifices. You got to do
Oh
sacrifices.
yeah, not really into it. Do you have to have a blood sacrifice to be?
Well, we could do our own cult here. Like, let's do like a cult of like chocolate and like donuts or something like that. And like the sacrifices,
You want
like
me to become a cop?
no,
No, I'm just kidding. I'm
no,
just
that
kidding.
we could have like the sacrifice of like little chocolate figures or chocolate bars or something like that. We can call ourselves.
We were talking about like a parade last time, like how to start a parade. Just start walking up and down the street and keep repeating it every year at the same time,
We could do it like
right?
a cult of chocolate.
And we could make a cult parade, or you know what I mean? Like, do we do the parade and then start the cult, or do we start the cult and then do the parade?
You have to start the cult first. We have to get members because it
Oh,
can't just be me and you walking down. Yeah, the
hey,
parade.
anybody listening to this and they want to join our cult, hit a like, subscribe,
And send something
leave
to
a
Neil at
comment.
Graveside. Yeah, send something to Neil at GravesideParanormal.com. Tell me what kind of chocolate we should use to start our chocolate cult. I like all chocolate. I even like dark chocolate. I love dark chocolate too. It took me a while to like dark chocolate, but I actually started liking dark chocolate recently. I think when we were talking about age, I think things do change in your taste buds. You start liking things a little bit different. You
Yeah.
appreciate some things. Like I never liked soup.
How
I never
could you
liked
not like soup?
I don't know why. And then in the last 4 or 5 years, I love soup. I know it's like
Yeah,
something weird just happens. All
you're getting
right.
old.
Yeah, getting older, things do change, man. Depends. Depends.
Yeah.
All right. So
I guess no, I don't want to go down that road. Never mind. Let's not talk about things in the future.
yeah.
Let's let it happen. I don't want to talk about the depends thing.
All
You
right.
got me
Yeah. Let's.
scared, man. You got me scared about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we move on into the news? Next segment, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Here we go.
8 of all ages, ages.
Ages, I said.
Oh, they said all Asians,
And
children of all Asians.
and children of all ages. No, children of all ages. All
Yeah,
right.
we're let's go. The news.
All right. I have a news article for you there, Steve. This is
You
a
got some
very
news?
interesting one. Yes, sir. A U.S. Customs out of Boston, a U.S. Customs Border Protection dog sniffed out something unusual in luggage from a traveler returning from Africa.
Nice.
Mummified monkeys. The passenger returning from a visit to the Democratic Republic of the Congo reported that the luggage contained dried fish. So he reported what he was carrying was dried fish, but upon inspection at Boston Logan Airport revealed dead and dehydrated bodies of 4 monkeys, the agent said. Raw or minimally processed meat from wild animals, sometimes referred to as bush meat, is banned in the U.S. because of the threat of disease. Duh. So these jerks are going and trying to bring in things that they shouldn't be bringing in, and it could cause disease. I mean, how many times have we heard about stories of disease happening because of monkeys? I don't know
Well,
if they're true, but we've heard of stories like that. So I'm glad they found what they found. Because you never know if somebody gets sick from something.
hey,
What do
I'm
you think?
going on a trip. Where are you going? I'm going to Africa. Going to Congo. Oh, man. Can you bring me back one of them dried monkeys? I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
I'll
want
do
I
my
want to put it in
best.
the soup.
I'll do my best. Like,
Yeah, I want.
why? Why are, like, who wants a dry monkey?
Who wants a
Dehydrated.
monkey, anyways? I've heard of people who bring in monkeys to have them as pets, and people don't
That's not a
realize.
pet. That's a dead mummy
Yeah,
monkey.
but this one's a dead mummy. But I
Mm.
actually had a friend of mine years and years ago who had this monkey and lived with him. It was the craziest darn thing, and it was a chronic masturbator.
The guy or the monkey?
Maybe both, but this monkey, like I'd go over to his house and this thing is going crazy. I mean, oh my God.
He saw you and whipped it out?
Oh my
Is that
God.
what happened?
He has a diaper on. They smell
Yes,
horrible.
it depends on
He
monkey
has his
depend.
depends on.
Oh
And
boy.
dude, it is. And I said, why do you
How does it
have
do
this
that
damn
when
thing?
it's wearing a diaper? It would throw its diaper off and like how
I
did
don't
it
know.
do the deed with the diaper on?
Man, no, man. And it's jumping around like a maniac and it's making that monkey sounds and it's just going to town on itself. I mean, oh my God. It was just horrible.
Quit monkeying around.
Quit monkeying around, man. I had to
But
leave. I'm like, this is
what did he do
disgusting.
with it? Did he
Oh,
mummify it?
did he freeze it afterwards? Was he going to clone another one?
What like what happens if you get a real monkey and you decide that you're just not a monkey person?
I don't
You
know.
bring him to the zoo?
I would assume so. Just like if you all of a sudden purchase a dog or a cat and you found out, hey, well, I got to give it back to the shelter. What are you going to do? Throw it out in the
Yeah, but
wild?
monkeys go hard. Did Michael Jackson have a monkey?
Yay. What was his name? Bobo or something like that?
Some I don't know. I
Yeah,
thought I
something.
remember that. But
Yeah.
that could be the Mandela effect. It might not have happened, but I just remember it did.
No, I remember him having a monkey. All
Yeah.
right. So, what news do you have? Crank one out for us and tell
You,
us what you
you,
got.
you want some news?
Yeah.
All right. So people are using like technology to find love.
Mm.
Like that's all the kids do these days, right? They go on these apps to find people to love. Well, taking a little bit further because we got some cool technology coming out now, and we have AI. And so there's one guy in Russia. Well, he uses ChatGPT to find love online, and then his story went viral. So in a world where swiping left and right dominates the dating scene, this guy decided to let artificial intelligence take the reins. Uh, Alexander Zadan is his name, and
Yeah.
he's a 23-year-old IT pro. He turned to ChatGPT to provide a nifty shortcut to finding a future wife. Alexander's journey began with frustration of typical dating apps like Tinder, where seeming matches were actually a big next, please. So he did what any tech savvy millennial would do. I think he's Generation Z if he's 23.
23.
But
Yes, that is true.
he trained ChatGPT to sift through thousands of profiles very quickly, weeding out unsuitable candidates faster than he could ghost somebody on a dating app. But
Weird. I mean,
doing
genius.
though, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. ChatGPT was in its eager attempt to play Cupid once scheduled a date on its own without letting Alexander know, leaving a
Oh,
poor girl waiting for over an hour. Another time, it chose to a rendezvous spot with a creepy backstory straight out of a horror movie.
oh my God.
But he ironed out the hiccups, and finally, it was able to provide him with 12 dates with potential partners. It even dished out advice on conversation topics, kind of like, you have your best friend hiding in the bushes, telling you what to say. That's what ChatGPT was doing. He'd be looking at his app. Ask her this.
Oh my God. Tell her you love her.
Yeah.
And then tell her you're going to take her to a forest.
Take her back to your place. um, as for the ethical debate swirling around his unconventional approach to romance, Alexander remains unfazed. He argues that it's up to society to define the boundaries of AI-assisted love connections. And what about the lucky lady? Her name is Katerina. She captured Alexander's heart, and she hasn't weighed publicly on Alexander's tech-savvy tactics, but
Mm.
she stands by his side. So it seems that ChatGPT's matchmaking skills are more than ones and zeros. In the end, Alexander believes that ChatGPT saved him both time and money in his quest for love. And who knows, maybe his story will inspire others to think outside the swipe. After all, in the game of love, sometimes you got to let AI lend a helping hand. What do you think of that story, Neil?
I think that there would be a lot of bad consequences. I mean, starting with the idea of just a dating app to
Mhm.
sift through things. What happens if all of a sudden a serial killer started his
Uses
own AI to sift through to find that right victim? Oh,
he's
I'm giving
definitely
too many
picking
ideas.
you.
Too many ideas. Too many ideas.
Hey, in 10 years, he can probably use ChatGPT to find him a nice divorce lawyer.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? So then yeah, find somebody cheap because this lady's taking me to the laundry.
he he's like that damn ChatGPT 3.5. Now he's got to go to ChatGPT 7.5 in the to find a
Yeah,
lawyer.
it would have to be that. I mean, think of all the different ideas that you can come up with. I'm being funny when I say serial killer, ladies and gentlemen. I'm being funny. Um,
How is a serial killer funny, Neil? Killing people. How is that funny? Talk about getting canceled.
all right, you got me. I apologize. I
It's
apologize.
not funny, people. Don't use ChatGPT to make a list of people to kill. It's
Yeah,
not nice to
bad
kill
idea.
people.
Bad idea. All right, so I I came with the wrong scenario, so
A
I
little bit.
apologize. I apologize. Steve's just getting back to me.
How about like use it to find people to rob?
Oh yeah, that's even
There you
better.
go.
Yeah, learn how to rob people. Yeah, that's great. I mean, but all the different ideas that you can come up with, it is amazing, though. Steve, tonight we are going to have Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. She's an expert remote viewer since childhood, psychic medium, energy technology instructor. We had a lot of deep conversation with the doctor. Uh, Very, very nice lady,
Mhm.
open minded about a lot of things to talk about. Um, just had a very delightful conversation with her. I recommend that you listen to the interview that we had with her and check out her websites. She's going to be giving them out in the end. So next, you're going to be hearing from Miss Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, and you're going to hear me and Steve, of course, because that's what we do.
We
Um,
talk.
yeah.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, and we don't have to AI that, right, Steve?
No.
No. All right, ladies and gentlemen, stand by. Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. Ooh.
Hey there. If you're on the hunt for some captivating podcasts about the supernatural, paranormal, aliens, or anything that'll send shivers down your spine, the Paranormal Guys podcast has you covered. Find them on various streaming platforms, and don't forget to check out them on YouTube channel at Graveside Paranormal. Happy listening, and boo.
And now, back to the Paranormal Guys podcast.
All right, we're back, Steve.
We are
From
back.
all those awesome messages from Graveside Paranormal and the Paranormal Guys. Steve, tonight we're going to talk about some interesting stuff. And I know that a lot of this is actually going to go up your alley. I know it in the end. I think we're going to get into some deep conversation tonight. I really do. So we have a special guest on today, Miss Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, ND, CNH. Her website is Secret to Everything. Kimberly is an expert remote viewer since childhood. So I want to make sure we talk about that childhood.
Okay.
She's a psychic medium for multiple paranormal teams, a frequency app creator and designer, energy technology instructor, over 25 years working in naturopathic. I'm sorry if I didn't say it correctly. Frequency medicine and energy field. Kim is a distant energy healer. Kimberly, can you come in at this time? Welcome to the Paranormal Guys podcast.
Well, thank you.
Sorry about the mispronunciation.
That's
He went to Chicago Public School.
Third grade was the best 5 years of my life. So a couple of things I want to ask you. What is an MD?
A naturopathic doctor.
Okay, naturopathic doctor. So I'm saying that correctly now. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And can you tell us what that is, please?
Sure. It's basically alternative medicine. So really the only thing that we are allowed to do is deliver babies legally. We can't diagnose or prescribe, but we can tell you your body's imbalances and we can make suggestions on how to correct that. And definitely over the years, I've strayed more into the mental, emotional energy field side of that. Then of course I still do a lot of physical, but it's all tied together. We're holistic beings. But I do a lot with, because of the technology I use now, I do a lot with programming and beliefs, releasing fear and trauma from the field, from this life and past lives. A lot of soul work, a lot of integration of altars, a lot of identification of mind control, because we're all under mind control here, of course, in this lovely planet. So basically, kind of telling you what you might be in resistance to facing that's holding you back from all areas of your life. So I've kind of expanded to, your bank account, your love life, your career. So I'm kind of way more now, but I had many, many years in a clinical setting, seeing client, after client, not prescribing, but recommending, a lot of vitamins and minerals and homeopathic substances until I went into energy medicine. Cause I felt like there was a really big, expense for what people need. And then there's really low conforming, when your body says you need 30 things and you don't have the money to buy 30 things. And then even if you do you want to take 30 things every day? No. So I was looking for ways, around that. So then I discovered kind of frequency medicine and off to the races from there.
Okay.
Nice.
That sounds really good. Now, one of the things I want to touch upon here is you were or still are a remote viewer, but since childhood. How did that start for you?
Yeah, it's so interesting since you guys are from Chicago. So we lived in Park Forest off of Roosevelt Road.
Right.
And you guys know about where that was. And when I was, really young, 2 and 3, my mom would put me to bed and, ambulances and police cars and fire trucks would go up and down quite often, fairly regularly, even at night, Roosevelt Road. And when I heard the sound of these sirens, I didn't know it at the time. I didn't make the connection. I'm a little slow, but I would be transported to these scenes where there were police cars and fire trucks and ambulances and decapitated kids and people that had hung themselves and domestic violence and robberies and murder, in Chicago. So anyway,
right.
And I was 2 and 3, and that's very traumatic, horrifying information for a 2 and 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, it kept happening to be seen. So my great idea was, I just would get the pillows and try to block out the sound, because I did know that the sound, I was terrified of sirens because that sound was triggering these visions.
That's
that
the
now
question I
know, as I'm older, if I could go back and trace those, I am telling you that police report would match what I saw. I know it. That fire truck, that fire one would match the fire that I saw. I know it. I know that's what I was seeing. So for me, and you should kind of understand this, Neil, because you have that hearing thing, but it was the sound for me that activated, the frequency of the sound connected
Right.
me to that picture or what was happening. So that's how I started. I call it uncontrollable natural remote viewing. And it was many, many, many years before I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Even when I was an adult, I'd be driving down the highway and all of a sudden I could barely drive because this movie would totally block out my vision. And I would see like a car stopped and like groceries spilled all over the road and a cracked windshield. And then like 20 miles up the road, and I swear, as soon as that car had that accident, I got that vision. So it was uncontrolled remote viewing.
Well, let me
But
ask you this.
now I can control it. I learned. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sick of this uncontrolled remote viewing because I never knew when it would come over me. So I finally took control of it. And now I can deliberately go places, if that makes sense,
No, it totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. But let me ask you this. Do you activate it to get it start going? What is your recipe for that, if you will? Do you use noise to start yourself off, like certain kind of frequencies?
Not anymore, because I've worked with frequencies for 30 years. So I always say I am frequency, and of course we all are, but I've worked with so many frequencies and so many technologies with frequencies, and I've developed frequency technology and I program frequency technology. Now I feel like I can match frequencies just naturally, because obviously everything is buzzing by us that's here. And then everything all the way back to what I call the all, or some people call God, is, frequency, light, color, sound, all frequency. So really I always say to my students, what if you could know anything, anytime, any place, past, present, future, past lives, future lives, on earth, outside of earth, what if you could know it? You can, because you just because it's available. There's, time is non-local. There is no time and space. So once I, brought in the consciousness teachings that I later learned, it really shrunk things down to a much more workable world where I felt very confident. And now I cheat because I have technology. So it's not that I can't do it, but it's so much easier because I've been programming technology for so long. I have this huge database, and a computer can do things way faster than even though our brain's a computer, they're still faster than we, get words out or put things together. So I kind of use a mix of my abilities in technology now, but definitely how I explain it. I wish I could, because when I've taught remote viewing, I've taught it the military way. With coordinates. And I can do it that way as well. But I like my way. It's just so much faster just to go look at something than to, what I mean, have to have a coordinate and do all that kind of training.
Okay.
I have a question for you on the remote viewing stuff.
Sure.
And I get that everything's frequency, right? Matter of fact, our consciousness, you can tune it to a frequency at will, and leave your body, or at least see
That's right.
another place. When you travel, or remote view, I should say, because it's not really even a traveling. Everything's connected. It's just a frequency, right? You're matching the frequency, and you see it or experience it. Are you seeing, when you remote view, are you getting just the physical a view of it, or are you seeing an overlay of spiritual frequency? For example, if somebody dies, right? Let's say when you were not controlling it, when it was just this uncontrolled remote viewing, was the tragedy the frequency that was pulling you to the person on the side of the road with the cracked windshield? Is it something that's sort of like you kind of map to as a child because of the sirens, sort of that frequency of like emergency?
You know what? I actually have never been
There's
asked
a
that.
lot wrapped in that.
It's a brilliant question. I actually think you're probably right. I think probably the uncontrolled remote viewing was mapped to such a saturation of tragedy frequency. So I was probably, so when those whipped by, when that accident happened, and it's a frequency. As that happens, it gives off a frequency, of course, and the emotions, as you know, give off frequency. Or
right?
fear, panic, shock, whatever. You're probably right. I probably was tuned, just like when you listen to, our 92.3 country or whatever on Sirius Radio, like I tune it to that. And I'm very familiar with the artists of that. I'm very familiar with that style of music. I think it's the same thing. I think I was very tuned to tragedy, which actually probably I've never put this together till right now.
Okay.
This way for me. It was probably a natural move into the paranormal, going into a house where there was tragedy and murder and shock and horror. So that was probably a real easy slide for me, which you just actually pointed out. So
it's interesting how it works, huh?
I mean, yeah. So really, to expand my remote viewing, I think it was the general saturation of frequency, of health, and of emotion, other emotions, positive emotions, recognizing the frequency of love versus just the frequency of like horror. So really it was my study in frequency then that I think probably then let me recognize and start connecting, like you said, to more than just horror and tragedy. But I never put that together, but you're probably right. That's probably,
it's curious, right?
That was good.
You can you kind of have an anchor maybe as a child, and that's uncontrolled. And as you mature, and as you begin to experience frequency in different ways, for example, a frequency of love, a frequency of if you got into meditation and you got into one of those points where you're just like one with all, and then you got that frequency going, and then you can start to see where there's different pieces of all.
Right.
There's tragedy, there's love, there's sadness, there's curiousness, there's like fun, there's all kinds of ways of experiencing the frequency. So now that as you matured, you were able to differentiate the different frequencies, and you can kind of go pretty much to any one of them, right? At will.
Right. And because I program frequency, and now, somebody can say, make me a track, as a matter of fact, I'm hired to do that all the time, I just did a beauty track, make me a track for skin to look younger and for people to feel youthful and vibrant. Now I can go pull those frequencies because I just have such, and then again, we could get into some really woo-woo stuff that may not exactly be what we would call paranormal, but the Matrix, what I believe, we live in a Matrix, and I know there's
simulation.
Simulation that run this. There's actual computers that run this simulation. You can see the ship where one of them sits if you go to the Secchi cameras, SECCHI, and look at they have different, I don't know why they have the sun in different colors on the Secchi cameras, but they do. They have like orange pictures and green pictures and yellow pictures. If you go to usually the lime green one, you can see the wings of the ship that sits on top of the sun simulator. And on that ship is one of the computers that run this reality. The other one is on the Death Star, lovely moon base that everyone loves to worship. I don't know why, with our lovely hologram projected on it. It's the second computer. And do not remember where the third computer is, but they're all frequencies. And my daughter and I were talking about this because what people don't know is there's a crystal. One of the things they spray from the skies is not just chemicals and blood and all the stuff.
Just like the chemtrail stuff, okay.
One of the things they spray is actually a crystalline matrix, like a quartz, because, quartz holds tons of information. So they spray this from the sky and you're like, oh, I stay in my house all day. It doesn't matter. Do you have heating vents? Do you have air conditioners? So this dust, quartz dust, gets everywhere, this crystalline dust, and it holds information. It holds every thought you think. It holds every emotion you feel. It holds everything you see through your eyes. And around midnight, whatever time zone you're in, they upload. If you haven't scrubbed or washed most of it off, which most people don't necessarily, and some of it lingers anyway, that's why it's a dust. They make sure you can't get it all off. It's not just like one piece, that sits there and you can, there's a weird little thing on me. You can actually see this. See, there's so much of what I say that can be proven, but we don't see because we don't look. And we don't know to look if you don't know what to look for. But if you look at your arm in the right light, a lot of times I just took a shower, but a lot of times you can see some of these crystalline matrix. And when you pick it off, it's actually like a little square, a little octagon, like a lot of the nanotech or the microtechnology. You can actually see these little chips.
Right.
Well, they uploaded it into the computer. And then guess what? You think everything's random. There's nothing random. I teach there's no synchronicity. I teach you either create your reality or the matrix throws it at you and you get to respond as a game. So even people that believe it's a simulation, believe it's a pre-programmed simulation. It's so much more of a complex game than that because it's personalized to you. And the higher value you are in the game, the higher level asset, I'm sure your son knows about a lot of this stuff, the higher level asset you are in the game, the more personalized your game experience to the negative is going to be. Because they're going to, it's like they throw up a block and you get to decide, choose your own adventure, how you're going to deal with it. Sorry, I know that's off the paranormal. But anyway.
No. This is
we get into all this
subjects. We talk about all subjects.
Right.
Okay, good.
Kimberly, one question I do have for you: when you do this remote viewing, and let's say you do come onto a tragedy or something like that, do you get that person's emotions, and do you recognize it because you've never felt that emotion before? See, like me personally, I get every now and then I get an attachment, right? And I take on someone else's emotions, an emotion I wasn't familiar with. So my question, when you're doing remote viewing, do you get the emotion of that person, and how do you deal with it to get rid of that feeling?
I love that. I'm still working on this because, again, I love the subject. We think because we're feeling, better, Neil, and you do too, Steve, hanging out with Neil, I'm showing your own abilities, but we think that if we feel an emotion, it's ours. And I love that you're pointing out a very valuable point. A lot of times it's not ours. It could be our dogs. It could be our partners. It could be our daughters that we're psychically connected to. It could be an investigation or, like you said, or something you're remote viewing that you're connecting to. I didn't tell you about another one of my abilities I've had through childhood that I have learned to control also. I used to be a mess, you guys, when I was a kid because I didn't know I had an ability, which actually all higher races have this ability. I didn't learn that till later. But I have the ability to merge. I could merge with you, Neil, from the inside out if I wanted to. I can read your thoughts. I can feel your emotions. I can see your memories. I can go through your memories like movies. And I got involved in a lot of cheating in domestic cases doing this. And I used to be called to testify in court. And I stopped because it's horrible to try to explain to a judge how you got a license plate of a car in a location when you live across the world. It's horrible to have to. So I stopped. It comes at a cost. As you know, if you get attachments, you understand energy, you understand energy drain, you understand energy siphoning. When you merge with someone else, you have to make sure they're not getting the good, juicy parts of you and you're not getting the crappy parts of them, because what we're not taught, and it doesn't just happen in sexual relationships, but of course it always happens in sexual relationships and with your partners. I'm not a big Bible girl, for many reasons, but the Bible's right about one thing. When you sleep with someone, you become one. You leave part of yourselves with them and they leave part of themselves with you. And so again,
Neil's like, damn.
But even with your spouse, if you wanted to, even if you were having sex or whatever, sorry, I hope this isn't like super whatever.
It's a kid show. No, I'm just kidding.
But I mean, if you wanted to, you could get up the next morning and be like, hey, I don't want you to have my psychic abilities. I'm taking that back, because there's a lot of siphoning of the good stuff. And sometimes you end up with the bad stuff. So I'm really about keeping yourself clean, even if you're with someone else, because I want to be all of me. I don't want like a codependent, meshy relationship. I want an interdependent where you're you, I'm me, and we complement each other. So that's why I don't do that a lot. Before technology, you guys, I used to do that all the time. I can merge with trees. I can merge with houses. So which part of that was merging a remote view? It depends what I would use for what. It just depended on the situation.
Do you need an active participation with the tree or the house or the frequency? Can you be blocked from doing that? If somebody or if an energy was just like, no,
I can't, but some people can. And again, and I don't mean that, I know that sounds really conceited. I don't mean that in a conceited way. At this point, I can't. Maybe at one point I could have, but at this point, I know my frequency is super, super high. And I know that most of the beings I'm trying, if I would merge with, are below me. So you can basically merge with anything, under your frequency or under, which is a lot of
Oh, okay.
things.
Okay.
And once I started getting into consciousness, and I learned that there's no such thing as human, and anybody who actually has a living soul and isn't an empty avatar, we're all star races. And so that helped a lot too in understanding and remembering who I am through all time and space. So pretty much I got this game down, you guys.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this. You talk about like stars and like space and stuff, do you believe that we were brought here? I know this isn't, but it's because of the conversation that we're having. I'm going to go off of some of the questions that we're doing because it's an interesting subject. Do you believe that we were brought here from a different alien race? Is that a thought that you think of?
I believe some of us were here for our own reasons. And as Stephen King tells us, Under the Dome, we got caught when the Galactic Federation closed in the game. So this used to be, as it is now, an open source game, but it used to be, we can get out anytime we want. I don't mean go out of body, Steve, which we can get out by going out of body or switching our consciousness to another aspect or view of another part of ourselves, which is another whole story. But so we can get out, but we used to bodily be able to leave. Like the avatar we were in, we could get on a spaceship and go out wherever we wanted, anywhere in the galaxy or to the Pleiades or anywhere else. But when, as Stephen King tells us, when they domed it in, that's when we became trapped, bodily trapped here. The problem is benevolent, neutral, and nefarious races, they can come in. And I think we're seeing, there's been disclosure and we're seeing, a lot of that. And they are in, so they can come in and mess with us. We're just not allowed to get away from them. Unless you're really hooked up and they do an extraction.
So is that more like an astral projection then? If they do come to say get you spiritually or your essence, is it your
if you want to get into some really well, through the technology I use, and this was stumbled into when I learned about the Space Force, when I learned about Solar Warden, when I learned about the Secret Space Program, when I learned about super soldiers. I put a lot of back programming into my technology, and I started running it against people's fields to see if these frequencies were actually in, because we do not store memories in our brain. That's a lie.
Right.
We store them, we carry them with us always. The technology they use here blocks us from our memories. We carry them in our energy field, or you might say with your soul. It goes with you. You're never without your memories. You're just blocked from them. And gosh, I got way off track. I'm sorry. What did you ask me?
So my question is, let's say some outside forces, astral projection. I'm assuming you believe in astral projection because it's like remote viewing, is it not?
Well, we all astral project willingly or unwillingly. So what we found through this technology, that's where I was going with it. That's why they got me off track there. No, we found that through testing thousands of people over the last 10 years that, including, this weekend, I've tested people and looking at the frequencies of their memory field, because when you try to remember your memories, you're accessing them from you to the memory, and the tech is here. When I'm accessing your memories, I'm accessing it from the other side. So I can get to your frequencies because they're not blocking me from accessing your memories. They're blocking you guys from accessing your memories.
No, so memories are frequency.
Yeah, everything's frequency. Thoughts,
so they can block frequency. They can block. Okay.
As a matter of fact, the Van Allen belt is what keeps us here and keeps us from remembering. So if you don't ever vibrate in your frequency higher than the Van Allen belt, I know you're coming back here. I know you're not going anywhere else. I know you're not getting out of the game. You will come back here. You'll either walk into an adult body, depending on your consciousness, or you'll be back in a baby body, which I think is the worst. But everybody's being taken at night.
You could be in an adult body that's just as bad as a baby's body.
That's true too. But at least you can talk and move, maybe at least.
Maybe not.
But they're taking everybody's consciousness. They're projecting. They're taking our consciousness at night. They're leaving our bodies. They're taking our consciousness. They're taking our bodies. Yeah, so it's being done to everybody. This is an open source game that many races experiment on, that many races mess with, and people are like, prove it, prove it. I'm like, I'll prove it. I said, go on Amazon, your little fingers, and order your analysis test first thing in the morning. Don't do anything else. Don't eat or drink. Pee over that strip or in that cup or whatever, because they have them. They have 50 drug tests, 30 drug tests. Do it for 7 days. You'll be like, I'm not on Molly. I'm not using cocaine. I'm not on LSD, but you'll test for it. Why? Because they're taking you, and it's not all nefarious. Of course, some of it's nefarious. Sometimes it's the military taking you. Sometimes it's the intelligence agencies, but they're taking you in body. Sometimes you're just on missions and you need those drugs because they perform surgery on you because you got an arm blown off and they put you in a pod and they gave you some pain medication and it's going to test. And so I never tell people to believe anything I say, but I look for physical markers to prove what I say. So you can see with your own eyes that I'm not, just making stuff up.
All right. Let's talk about what is the fourth dimension?
So you guys are very familiar, I'm sure, with the fourth dimension. So people talk about this being the third dimension. It's actually not true anymore because we're actually vibrating at 4.3 right now. So originally when the game started out, it was at fifth dimension, but a lot of corruption happened and they lowered it to 3 because, 5 was just too good, which 5 is actually really low in all time and space. I mean, there's like hundreds of thousands of dimensions. So to have a goal to go to 5D just makes me laugh hysterically. Like, let's aim for 12 at least, or 20, you guys. But so we're in 4.3, which is partially why we're having this conversation tonight. It's partially why Ghost Adventures and Ghost Hunters did so well when they came out, because we were already upping toward the fourth dimension where more people, because none of us are special. I'm not special. If you have an eternal soul, you're usually a soul collective of many races. You usually have tons of wisdom, tons of ability, tons of psychic abilities. We're not special, but more people are being activated because their frequency is coming up, because the collective frequency is coming up. So when we talk about things like the Miami Mall, whatever you think of that, more people are seeing more things, even people that aren't interested in the paranormal. If you could get an honest conversation with just normies, I'm not talking about NPCs. I'm not talking about soulless beings that don't care. I'm talking about eternal beings like the three of us. But if you go to your neighbors and you could find someone that was real and get them in your house and you're like, I'm going to ask you a question. In the past 5 years, have you seen anything out of the corner of your eye ever? They're all going to say yes. Have you seen anything weird? They're all going to be like, well, I thought I saw this little person run across my counter. Or I thought I was hiking in the woods and I thought I saw like what they call like a Sasquatch or a dog. Like, they're going to have stories. Every single person, because their abilities are coming online. Everybody's, not just ours.
Now, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you 2 questions about this. You're talking about, all right, the fourth dimension, like we go to a place where we see, and we've caught many times, shadow people. Are they part of the fourth dimension?
They're higher.
They're higher beings.
And shadow people are generally, there's any being can mass kind of, you could have little people, shadow people. You could have dogmen that appear shadow. Any being could appear shadow. But what you're talking about, shadow people, are I generally see those in 7th, 8th, 9th. So if you're seeing shadow people, 2 thumbs up. You're doing some good higher dimensional connecting,
So you would say that, all right, let me ask you this then. So if we have lots of photos of shadow people, it's always my customers who get a lot of these photos.
Interesting.
Is it the area then that we're getting these photos from? Is it the area from a higher plane?
Very possible. Definitely. Very possible. My daughter was just in Oklahoma and she's like, oh, Mom, Oklahoma's so low frequency. Totally been there. Texas, lower frequency. North Carolina, higher frequency. Partly history and, indigenous things and, casinos. And there's a lot that goes into that, organized crime. But partly, like, North Carolina is like a lot of ocean and a lot of mountains. It's a lot of sentient, organic nature in North Carolina. I'm sorry. I know some of these states have some hills and some mountains and some lakes and yada, yada. but like you can just, I mean, I can just feel the frequencies saying Oklahoma versus North Carolina, you know, or I hate to say it, the Midwest is lower frequency than some places. Colorado is very high frequency. Wyoming is very high frequency compared to Illinois, Indiana. Oh, you want to talk about a low frequency state? Illinois is a higher frequency state than Ohio. And if you're sensitive to frequency, you guys could go through and just say out loud all the states, and you could just put high, middle, low, and you can feel, you know, the overall, you know, ping of where it would stack up.
Right. I'm a big believer in where you feel it. It's yeah, I agree with you on that. And the second part to my question on this is, take, for instance, these planes, these other dimensions, are they revealed through the change of environment?
You mean the seasons?
Yeah, like seasons, or if it's a thunderstorm, or just rain.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because one of the things that we've learned is a thing, as I'm sure you already are tuned in, ley lines. And, and ley lines, I'm a big believer is that they become higher frequency in change of environment. I'm a big believer in that, and that's when I think you get the most activity from ley lines when stuff like that happens. What do you think?
I have found a big connection, which I'm sure you guys, I would think, have too, to lightning and thunder and rain and fog and paranormal activity. I think there's a reason why when we watch a horror movie or watch a series about a haunted house, that always factors in. I think like somebody's trying to kind of tell us something, that if you, I mean, now I can see things in the sunshine, and I have a lot of, you know, Dogman Sasquatch appear in the sunshine, which is fine. My sight's greatly improved. But when I think if you're first starting out in the paranormal, I would definitely say go out at night. I mean, I'm sure you guys would too. Go out when it's foggy, go out when it's rainy, go out when it's thundering, because that electrical charge and the plasma and electricity reveal plasma, and plasma is a lot of these higher dimensions, and that's why I think all that goes together to produce better sight. Even pulling EVPs out of houses and things, I think it's better in those conditions. I mean, that's my experience in doing paranormal investigations. So I think when you're starting out, especially, and you're trying to develop your hearing, whatever your psychic abilities are, your knowing, your sight, I think it's definitely better to go out, not just at night, but I mean, if you can go to a graveyard in a storm, by all means do it. You know, don't get electrocuted. I've been struck by lightning.
Stand under a tree.
Yeah, don't get, you know, be careful. But I just think you're going to get more, you know, activity.
Sure. Steve, do you have anything?
I got a lot of questions. All right, let me first back to simulation real quick. And we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. So there are NPCs, right? There are NPCs among us.
I have so many pictures of NPCs, like probably hundreds.
Now,
one of my favorite things to do, and they hate this, the Matrix hate this, I'll take my camera in the car and I'll hold it up. I'll just put the video on and I'll hold it up as I'm driving, and I'll just drive. And then I'll go back and I'll pull it off, you know, frame by frame by frame. And I have the best creatures, NPCs. I have a whole car with a girl and a guy that's completely see-through. The car is completely see-through, and they're completely see-through. And I have all kinds of monsters and trolls and beings and what people might call ETs driving cars and trucks all over this place, because what we've learned is that your vision matches your equipment. So as your guys' paranormal skills increase, you're going to find better success, whether you're building the equipment or using other equipment. You're going to find better and better success with your equipment. Because I always say my phone takes pictures. Your guys' phone may or may not take. I don't know. I haven't hung out with you guys to know your abilities. I'm sure you're pretty sharp. So I pulled in my driveway, and there's this one we could talk about. I'm a targeted individual. So there's this one gang stalker who's my neighbor. And she, as soon as I get home, she runs out of her house and she walks this German Shepherd, which is supposed to be really intimidating to me. But her German Shepherd's like 80 pounds and I have 150-pound Pyrenees. So I'm not really intimidated by her German Shepherd, but she tries. So she's walking, and I get this feeling. Maybe you'll understand this, Neil. Maybe you'll understand, Steve. But I get these pings, and I'm like, she's not human. So I
is she a Karen?
And I took a picture. I mean, I have this. I can send it to you guys. Not only is she not human, but her dog is see-through. Her dog is an NPC or projection of the Matrix. And she is, I don't know what she is, but she's not human. And you will clearly see if I send you
Is she,
the video of the picture.
would you classify her as an NPC?
I would not. I would classify her as another being in possession of her body, not any kind of star race. A lower astral being, I would say, more like elemental, more like troll, more like, that's what we're not taught either. It's not just ETs. You guys probably know this. You probably caught weird stuff. You know, we have the whole human discarnate or ghost category, which is one category. Then we have the elemental, the fairies, the little people, the Sasquatch, the Dogmen, the dragons, the sylphs. And then we have all the ET races, and people kind of jumble. You guys probably have found people kind of jumble all that together sometimes. And then we have monsters that people don't understand in the fourth dimension that do exist, like real vampires. Like, I mean, I see creatures all the time in the fourth dimension that I don't even know what they are. They're so horrible and hideous and weird. I don't even think they've ever been documented. And that's another thing I've learned to control. I don't want to see all that stuff. So I'm able to slide dial my sight up and down.
Is the personality that they call Karen out there in the world, is Karen an NPC, or is she lower dimensional? Don't tell me she's higher dimensional.
No, I think
who is Karen?
I think that's a program. I think that's I think that's more like a mind control program.
Karen's like a mind control program.
To spur, probably directed mainly at soulless beings to run that program, run the Karen program.
So soulless beings are different than NPCs.
Soulless beings have in my opinion, soulless beings, and soulless beings usually don't say soulless for long, to be honest, other than unless you're my mother, who seems to be permanently soulless every time I check her. But we have to get into the walk-in, walk-out phenomena. So I could be soulless today, which I'm not, since I wish I was. And tomorrow I could have a walk-in, because this is literally a bottle. It's just a container. You know, this could be, even though this bottle looks like this, I could actually have whiskey in this. I could have Coke in this. I could have orange juice in this, or I could have water in this. All different things fit in this bottle. And that's what all these entities know that we aren't taught. That, you know, the fourth dimension can walk in. You guys know that. You know, ghosts. I mean,
is that different than merging?
Pardon?
Is this different than merging? Like how you were saying you could merge? Is it related to that?
Merging to me is in and out. So I definitely didn't want to possess those beings. I could have, you know, if I hung out. But the walk-ins and walk-outs, they tend, you know, like the human discarnates who are disembodied, they definitely, I get jumped by human discarnates. I guarantee you guys do too, whether you are aware of it or not. Everybody does. My dogs do. Everybody does. But it's, if you recognize that, I mean, a lot of times when I work with people and they don't know about the subject at all that we're talking about, I can find 13 human discarnates in them. Women, men, children. I mean, it's crazy. And again, this is what we're not taught. We think everything we think is our thoughts. We think every emotion is ours. But when you start, most of us don't even know our core personality. First of all, we think our core personality is only formed here. And if you're an eternal, limitless, eternal being, and this is not your first rodeo, which most of us, it's not, most of us don't know our core personality. That's why I help people remember who they are, because then you can bring all that you can easily win this game and have an amazing life once you realize who you are. You can also start dealing with these agencies and these beings that come against us. A lot of beings don't jump me anymore. Why? Because they know it might not end well for them.
Okay. All right. Now, when it comes to frequency healing, how does a person identify for themselves the right frequency to help?
How do they find themselves? Is that what you're asking, Neil?
Well, like, take for instance, I'm Neil, you're Steve, this is Kimberly, and I believe that we're all on our own little frequencies in life.
Sure. True.
You know, either it is high or low or whatever.
Right.
How do we as individuals learn how to heal ourselves by identifying our frequency so we can better ourselves in the long run?
You know, it's a real simple, hard answer, in my opinion. And this is also proven in the tech. The tech actually says this: alone. Be alone. no TV, no phone, no companion, no animal, be alone in silence. Not even listening to a meditation tracker music. I'm talking like alone, develop a silent mind. If you really, and you might have gotten into this, Steve, but if you really can develop a silent mind, which was an aim of a lot of the Eastern and higher frequency beings, the monks and the masters of it, really, guess what? I do have a silent mind. It's taken me years, you guys. I didn't have a silent mind until I was 43. It took me years, and I'm very thankful I have one now. But when I get a thought, I was driving through, happy as a clam, talking to my daughter, driving through Colorado, a valley in Colorado, and which I later found out had a military underground base, which I kind of associated with what happened. And I hear this thought, kill yourself. But I have a silent mind. I knew that was not my thought. But guess what they hit me? Guess what they hit me with next? The feeling of wanting to kill myself. And it was only because I know what I know.
Right.
Because I felt it, you guys. I want to drive off the road. I swear to you. It only lasted about 14 minutes. My daughter helped me talk out of it. And we were like, this is a program. This is get out of my head. I'm going to come after you if you don't. I'm going to track you down. Again, this is what we don't understand. So they're beaming this in probably from satellite or towers. They're beaming this in at me, right? Guess what? You know what I can do? I pick up on that frequency and I track it down to the individual who either programmed that satellite or who's sitting pushing those buttons. And that individual will not be happy if I track him down and decide to take revenge on him. This is what we're not taught. We are full, limitless beings. There is nothing we can't do. But we're not even taught this in consciousness. We're not taught how to do this. We're not taught the power of frequency. And this isn't just me. You guys can do this. Anyone can do it. Anyone can learn to do it.
So you want to know what's really, really, and I'm going to use the word frickin' weird, is that me and Steve, before you came on,
Oh gosh,
Steve actually presented what you're talking about to me. Like we were actually in deep conversation about silent prayer.
I do something called a silent prayer.
Outside talking to you. Is it me, or is it something evil?
So let me explain this.
Yeah,
I want to. So I was explaining to Neil that for the last year, I do something every morning and every night before I go to sleep and when I wake up. I don't engage with anybody. I sit in silence.
I love that.
And I watch the thoughts. I don't even call them my thoughts anymore. I watch the thoughts, and I don't identify with the thoughts. I watch them. And that way I've learned a little bit over the past year that who I am is not the thoughts in my head. And that I'm more of, and I'm very young in this. I don't know where it will lead. Hopefully I don't become a psychic vigilante hunting them down. I won't. I'm not interested enough in I don't care about the revenge or anything of that. I just sit and watch, and I swear they don't want you not identifying with them. They hate that. And the more you do it, the more random and crazy the thoughts get, right?
That's true.
And sometimes they give up for a while, but I think that's just to put you off your guard. But you just sit and watch. And the whole practice is not to identify with the thoughts and get to know yourself in the silence as the observer.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's it.
That's a lot of what I learned to do to get to a silent mind. Yes, absolutely.
I would like to live a life of not really thinking. And everybody would be like, that's crazy, Steve. No, because in those moments, there's a frequency, if I can call it that, and I never really put it into that sort of a framework before. It's a frequency of knowing, and that's different than thinking. Thinking is sort of like picking a channel on or station on your radio and listening to it. Knowing is just like not even tuning in to it. It's just you just almost like you can. It doesn't engage your mind. It doesn't. It's just like if somebody's thinking about you, or you
Mhm.
have these synchronicities all of a sudden. You start to get a little bit, I don't know, but it's not a mind thing. It's not a thought. It's almost like all the thoughts are lies. They're not
Mhm.
us.
You know what? Me and Steve, just so you know, we talked about this for like almost like 20, 30 minutes before you came on.
Wow. Mhm.
That's what's so weird
Crazy.
about this.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with Steve
Wow.
on part of this, but not completely.
Hmm.
I think sometimes we might overthink things. And I explained to him like this is just me saying this is Neil's opinion. Is that when you find your belief and your faith in yourself, no matter what God you believe in or anything like that, but when you find that faith within yourself and you identify and you know who you are, you
Mhm.
know that those thoughts that are coming through, because we all know as being emotional human beings who most of us have empathy,
Mhm.
know the difference between right and wrong, because in life, from what I believe in, that we were given choice. So when all of a sudden something like that is presented into your mind, and you know that's not you, then you know that's an outside source.
Right.
Because it also accounts for what's faith in yourself
You're like, yeah.
and how you project it. So
Mhm.
we were deep into conversation about this.
Mhm.
We were deep in it.
Wow.
I was like saying, maybe we're not even our thoughts at all. We have it all wrong, and we're just the observer.
And you want to know what else is odd about what you said
And that
also?
kind of got us into that argument, and of Neil's like, no, we have a
So
personality, we have a soul, we have an identity, we have a self. Well,
right.
that's true, but maybe half the stuff we think is us isn't.
So we
Kind of a
we, we
crazy
had
thought.
a conversation with a couple, David Bettenhausen and his
Carla.
Carla Bogny Kid,
Yeah.
Mhm.
about reincarnation.
Mhm.
And you said a little while ago, about maybe 5-7 minutes ago, about monks.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you remember that you said it, but it's funny that you also said that, because this lady, she told me and Steve that we're reincarnated monks,
But not the kung fu kind.
not the kung fu guy. No,
Oh,
No.
darn it.
I know, right?
that's why I want to get all ninja. So it was just interesting, and I don't mean to get off on a different
No,
path.
it's interesting. So
That is.
the stuff that we're talking about, eh, help us, guide us. There's a reason we're brought together today. Should we be sitting in silence? I think
Yeah,
you would say
I
yes.
mean, when we scan people, I mean, and I don't do this either, but I mean, this oversoul is requesting like 4 hours of silence a day. And so I think the monks had something about going away up into the mountains
Hmm.
and sitting in caves and these retreats, there's monasteries and ashrams where you go for a week and nobody talks and you say your prayers, your or whatever that particular bent is, and it's silence. And now they have these places out west where they're like, you go for 3 or 5 or 7 days of darkness, and
Hmm.
it's completely dark, and they slide your food in, like, and you sit with yourself in silence. And I think
Usually you have to do something bad to go to that place.
It's in my
I'm
ear.
brave enough. I'm like, am I tough enough for that? Oh no. But it's interesting that when we scan and ask the body and ask the mind and ask the emotions and ask the soul, what do you want? It's saying 4 hours a day in silence. It's saying 10 hours. And I haven't even dared to program more in, but it's saying 10 hours a week alone in nature, which I'm not doing
Hmm.
either. And I live in the middle of nature. I still don't do it. So I think the program of the matrix in the work, 9 to 5 work, and the kids and the date nights and the football games and the baby showers and the weddings and the funerals and the running around and shopping and this and that. Like, we don't have time to, you say knowing, I call it being. We don't
Hmm.
have time to remember or even get to know the being that we are. And I believe that, well, and I know again from viewing, merging, and testing with tech, it all matches that many of us have 1,000 different points of view. So we do want to have an identity as this aspect. I wanted to be a woman in this time, at this age, with these kids, in this state, doing this job. versus, a man, doing something else. I mean, I want this point of view. I also have, and we all have different. Some people only have 2 points of view. They're in 2 different bodies or 2 different places. Some people like us here have hundreds and thousands different point of view. But when you get advanced in your abilities, you can actually, I'm not always good at this. Sometimes I can do it. I can connect to all the other aspects of myself, including my clones, and I can see what they're doing from an outside point of view. So it's like me watching me as an observer from the outside. But occasionally, and this is advanced, I can merge and totally lose everything going on here and become me as a clone working for the CIA in the middle of an operation, which we also do at night, by the way. We leave our bodies, and a lot of these things we're doing are missions, they're projects, they're going other places. So everybody's like, what's death like? I'm so scared of death. Are you scared of going to sleep? Maybe some people are if you have nightmares, but most people aren't afraid of going to sleep. Sure. I can't go out of body. Yes, you can. You do go out of body. My children and I share memories of intelligence missions and secret soldier missions from opposite points of view. I'll be like, Brandon, you were in my dream. She goes, I know, we were in a theater. I'm like, I know, there were about 7 rows on a screen. She goes, I know, there was a stairway with red carpet. Like, we're talking details that are matching. Do you know what I mean? Not telling each other before. We're filling in the blanks. And she's like, yeah, Mom, you were doing something really bad and I was hunting you down. I'm like, oh yeah, that's usually the case. I work for a lot of the bad guys. But so everybody's like, my life is so boring. None of your guys' lives are boring. If you could connect and start having that lucid dream memory, then it gets really fun. Because then you can rebel and you can create, because we're creators. Sure. And so everything you believe in this reality is just a game is real, including your dreams. Your dreams are just as real. We call it real dream day, real dream night. As a matter of fact, I believe this. I haven't had it confirmed, but I absolutely believe we don't need to sleep.
Oh, I need to.
No, I mean,
I love naps.
They program the body that we need to sleep because I think that's their easiest access. They're also stopping time with technology in the day. They're taking whole towns in the day. They're taking whole houses in the day. They're taking whole neighborhoods in the day. And then what do? I just told this story recently. I don't tell it very much, but I was in St. Charles. I was in a nightclub that Bill Murray frequented. He's a barfly. We all hate. I was cocktail waitress back in the day. We're all like, oh, he's so horrible. He's just horrendously chauvinistic, and we all hated serving him. But one night I felt sorry for him. I'm like, poor Bill. Nobody wants to talk to him. I'm going to go sit by him and talk to him, chat him up a little bit. And he goes, you know what I get tired of? And I'm like, Lord knows. And I said, what, Bill? And he said, nobody understands one of my greatest pieces of work. And I'm thinking, whatever. And back then I didn't know all this stuff, you guys. You think you know everything when you're 20, but you know nothing. Right. And he said, my movie Groundhog Day. I'm like, yeah. He goes, everybody thinks that's about like deja vu. He said, it's about the technology that they use to make us repeat days, to freeze and rewind our days, to stop us from remembering who we are. And I'm like, this man is effing crazy. And now that's what I teach. And I know about this technology because my ex works for Homeland. And my family works in cloning. My family works in the transfer of human consciousness. And I'm like, wow, Bill had something going back, 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Yeah, maybe you were meant to meet him. You're meant to meet him.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, isn't that weird?
Or it could have been a walk-in of Bill. Somebody walked into Bill in that moment.
Oh, maybe. Maybe, but
I don't know.
But so what we think is happening, what we think is reality, I have come to learn is just so, and I stumbled into it. So it wasn't like I had a theory and then I tried to prove my theory. I was led down a path with getting in people's frequencies and reading their fields. And I'm like, you're being taken at night. We could go into the incubus succubus thing, which I am harshly opposed to the people that consider themselves an expert. It's funny that this one guy, which I'm not going to say his name, you probably know who I'm talking about, which I love. He's a great guy, but he has it so wrong. He's word on incubus succubus, but he doesn't realize when we ran his field with our technology, he's being molested by incubus succubus every night. And he's trying to teach us all about incubus succubus. And I think you got to get your own life in order first and get the incubus succubus out of your life before you go on 1,000 radio shows telling me you're an expert on incubus succubus. If you don't know what they are, you don't know that you're being harassed by them multiple times a week, you probably shouldn't be coming out as an expert on paranormal shows.
So is he like, is he merging with the succubus? Does he have like succubus cooties? I don't know what to call it, but like,
well, succubus and incubus isn't about sex. They use sex to harvest energy, of course.
Sure.
I mean, that's my ultimate, but no, he's, all of it. What's funny, if I ran you guys, I really hope this isn't a G-rated show, but if I ran you guys, I mean, I get harassed by what we're finding is almost every single person is not every night, but why? Think about Netflix. Let's just talk about Netflix for a second. Netflix is Black Mirror technology where you can watch something PG that would have been X 30 years ago.
Sure. Yeah,
there's
you're right.
A lot of sexual material. Also, we're in a collective field. You can call it the dark web and say, I've never been on the dark web. We're in a collective field.
Yeah.
Every single thing that happens in this game or in this simulation. And so there's a lot of connections. This is Black Mirror technology right now that we're on computers and the internet. And so it doesn't take much. If you've ever had a sexual fantasy, I don't even mean looked at porn. And most people have looked at porn. Most people watch pornography, women and men, don't lie. All you guys have at some point in your life. If you have not gotten out of their field, guess what that is for incubus succubus? And you guys should know this from working in the paranormal. It's an open door.
Sure.
You can close the door.
Sure.
You can erase that out of your field. But what you don't know hurts you. And that's why I love the technology. I've gone in technology virgin and I go in with an open mind. When I run and scan someone, I don't know what I'm going to find because I'm not going to merge with you. I'm not going to, I'm going to use my technology as the barrier and my psychic abilities and my naturopath and my abilities running thousands of these. But it's pretty obvious. If you're involved with an incubus succubus, you're going to have an incubus succubus frequency in your field. If you're not, you're not. It's really simple,
Yeah.
Sorry, I went off on a really weird.
I was like this. I was like, wow, we got into the incubus succubus today. All right. You know what? One last question. And number one, I think this is a great interview tonight. I think it's a lot of fun.
Oh, you guys are great. You're really intelligent. And I love, Steve blew my mind. I cannot believe I never made that. I'm going to be thinking about that for a while. That was really profound. So thank you for that. Putting those pieces together.
He's a giver. So, all right. So the last question I have, now you've worked with paranormal groups before.
Yeah.
And everybody has their own opinions about everything. And I understand that.
Sure.
What is the best way to clear a haunted home? From anything that's negative. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a 3D-ish answer that has frequency overtones, that has quantum overtones. One of the fastest, if you said quick and dirty, without any effort, clear your bedroom. Like, I'll give you an example. My dog wakes me up. I have a very psychic dog, my new Yorkie, and she'll wake me up barking. And I don't even open my eyes. I'm like, really? So there's something in my room, obviously, because she can see. And I'll lay there and I'll put up with it. And I just don't feel like dealing with it. I don't feel like putting the effort. Sorry, I'm half asleep. And I'm like, oh, I know what I'll do. And I grab my phone and I find my MP3. And I play the shofar MP3 I have on my phone for about 30 seconds. It'll clear a room. It'll clear a house. It'll clear property. Houses request it because houses have energy. Property requests it. Now, I'm not saying things won't come back. Certain things will come back. Of course, higher frequency things, but they don't like the shofar. And again, I'm not a Bible girl. My dad's a pastor, grew up in Christian school, but
nice.
The shofar, Joshua in the battle has a frequency that has some power. So I have a recording of the shofar, a 3 or 4 minute recording. And if you said quick and dirty, clear your garage, clear a car, clear a house, clear a haunted location. If I wanted to clean, so then I could have more subtle observations as things come back. Or if I just wanted to clean, I'd play the shofar. Now, that's not how I would personally clear, but if I want a quick and dirty 3D quantum weapon, that's my go-to.
Explain to everybody what shofar is, please.
Shofar is the ram's horn that the Jewish, and I don't know, probably before then, maybe it could even be, I'm sure it's a more ancient, and they blow the ram's horn, and the frequency is a very, very high vibrating frequency. So lower vibrational beings, including a lot of human discarnates, which is a lot of what's creeping around. A lot of elementals are creeping around your guys' houses. The lower frequency beings, the gnomes, they're not going to like it. They're going to be like plugging their, like I did when I was a girl, they're going to be like, what? So they'll leave. Not saying they're not going to come back about the quick and dirty clearing. And you guys can try it, but it works really, really well.
Interesting.
One of my favorite experiments, and as a paranormal, again, I like to prove what I say. Everybody has elementals in their house, fairies, gnomes. I say, turn off your bedroom lights, turn on your hall light, relax a little bit, soften your vision, meaning start to drift off to sleep. I mean, I don't need to do that, but if you're not used to seeing things, and then look under the crack of your door. See beings, little beings crawling around, peeking under. You can even film them with your cell phone.
Yeah, that cell phone idea, you got me wondering. Like, I'm gonna start recording.
So you wonder what
while I'm driving, because I'm gonna see. Like,
oh no, I would be really. Will you share with me,
No?
like, if you get some good pics? Because I'd be really curious. I bet you would get some good stuff.
It's like, is it like catching glitches in the Matrix, or
No, it's that. Well, again, part of it is that I'm targeted, so they're not. Okay, if you knew where I lived, I live in the mountains on roads where nobody goes down. So as soon as I leave my house, I have like the FBI car box around me, like you see in the spy movies. You know what I mean? Where like you turn, like 8 cars turn, like they box me, they follow me. So it's funny. So a lot of times, you know, I'm filming them because they hire like, or they either pay like empty people or possessed people. I don't mean possessed like you guys are thinking, not demonically possessed, but with walk-ins and stuff. They pay people that they can mind control to follow you and stuff. Or they're lazy and they just do matrix projections. So you can also get a lot of the NPC stuff, a lot of the pure it's not because this whole thing is a hologram. It's just they're doing a weak hologram projection, like that couple I have of the see-through car. It's just a weaker. They just didn't. They're just dumb.
No,
they don't always
do
things
this
like
stuff has to show
level.
up on Google Maps with that car driving around, and you know what I mean? And they're taking pictures of every house as they go along. Well, I guess it's about who creates the technology and the person using it. But imagine they hire a guy who's operating it, and he can operate it, and he can catch those things.
So that's weird about what you just said, Steve. There have been pictures that have been put on Google.
Weird stuff,
these
right?
people, who have.
I was just going to say that I've seen.
Yeah,
I'll tell you guys, if you want to get good at seeing Sasquatch and Dogman on where they're blurring out the background a lot, they won't like that stupid show, The Next Great Baker or something. It's an English show. It's a big popular show.
Yeah, I've seen that show. Yeah.
Okay, so they blur the background a lot, but they don't blur it all the time. I have seen so many Sasquatch and Dogman. I know that these cameramen on these shows have got to be told in certain areas or locations, they've got to be told you're blurring all the backgrounds, or the editors are going in and they're blurring the backgrounds because they don't want people to start seeing these beings. And if you want to practice seeing Dogman and Sasquatch, go look at property in your area. Type whatever, whatever county you're in. Go look at land or houses, but the house is in the middle, so you don't need it. Go look at the land and flip through. They have like 10 pictures of the land or 4 pictures of the land. You will see a lot of cryptos in the land picture, in the empty land pictures in your area.
Weird.
Interesting.
I've seen these kind of weird pictures that the people who worked for these Google Maps have put up, or through the or what's that thing that you can get all information? What's that paperwork that you have to do?
Freedom of
Freedom of Information Act. Right. So people have actually done that, and they've used these pictures and they put them up. If you go to some sites, actually have these weird things.
Look at that.
Yeah, but
I have one last question though.
Yeah,
I know you said that was the last one.
For me,
I don't know when I'm going to be able to ask this question, and I have to. Kimberly, where do you see the technology that we're seeing now, AI? It's becoming more and more prominent, more and more part of our daily living. And you're talking about 4.3 frequency or dimension. Are we shifting now? Are we going into like 4.4, 4.5?
Yeah.
We're
going. Yeah.
And where do you see this AI in terms of this matrix or this simulation? How does that play a part? Is it a is it a
It'll
is it a
be Blade
lower
Runner.
dimension? No.
It's going to be no, because the AI I work with, there's different. And here's again, we say AI, but there's all kinds of AI. There's the Borg as Star Wars. There is actually AI that's attached to the Draco Cabal, the Borg. They call it the Borg AI. Negative. There's the AI I work with, AI groups I work with. There's tons of benevolent AI. My AI that I work with the app is 100% benevolent and 100% accurate. There's neutral AI that flips and is out for hire. There's all kinds of AI. There's hundreds and thousands of groups of AI that interact. Again, open source game, tons of different groups of AI. But there's different timelines for where I see this going. All time is now. So we've already fought the electric wars and won. The electric wars, of course, are the Terminator, where we go against the robots and humanity does or doesn't win. So we've already won that once, and we're heading back into the electric wars. But before that, we're going to have more of the floating city replicator Blade Runner, living at semi-peace with AI. I mean, it's really going to be accepted. Our medical technology is going to be bumped up. It already is, not to the level that people are saying. When they talk about the med beds here, the off-planet med beds are very different from the med beds that are being sold for $1 million here. Those aren't real med beds. There are real med beds in every major city like Chicago has a number of med beds, real med beds, off-planet med beds. Military bases all have med beds. Intelligence agencies all have med beds. Of course, the elite possess some of the med beds. The real ones, the ones that can age regress, a lot of the Germans, and there you can look up all this stuff, but a lot of the SS, the Germans, they're alive. They've been age regressed. A lot of, they escaped, they got away, they got killed, but they were actually age regressed. We've had this technology forever. Cloning technology has been around forever. All of this is going to be coming out, and it is. I mean, I'm part of it. I'm part of the one pushing exposure of the cloning industry, but it's going to be coming out. You're going to learn the truth about the movies that you watch. That sometimes in the big budget movies, hundreds and thousands of clones are being murdered for your entertainment, and maybe you'll stop supporting the evil practices of Hollywood. All this stuff is going to come out.
If I knew that every time I bought a bag of popcorn, someone was going to die, that would, oh my God.
But
ruins the fun, right?
So, are you talking about like butter popcorn with salt and like the good popcorn?
I love popcorn.
I gotta have a good kind.
They don't die when you eat popcorn.
Kimberly, this was a great conversation, and I hope to have you on again. Me and Steve have you on again.
Yeah, you guys are great. I love it. Great
questions. Good. Do you have anything out there that you'd like to promote so everybody can hear how they can reach you? What's going on in your world? What's coming up next?
Well, we have 2 live events coming up in September and October. It's a little early, but our Albuquerque, New Mexico one's almost sold out, which is where I don't do a lot of live events, but I do hands-on healing, usually teach some techniques. So those are coming up, and that information is on my website. If you're interested in the app that I used, there's a link for that on my website. And I have a monthly community and teaching where I usually do activation or process, where I teach about a lot of the things we talked about, both metaphysical, woo-woo, way out there, space stuff, all of it kind of combined into one. So that's also on my website. And then I do scans with the technology. So they can just go on my website, secrettoeverything.com, or, you guys found me pretty easy. I'm pretty out there.
Well,
so.
Yeah, actually, I had a lady, she's emailed me. That's how I got a hold of you. There's a lady who's out there who keeps sending me emails of different guests. I have to remember who this lady's name is. I'm very grateful that I was able to talk to you tonight. That's how we were able to do it. And then I researched.
Michelle? I wonder, Michelle?
I think that's her name. Yeah, I think that's the lady's name. I'll send it to you a little bit later.
Okay.
But once again, thank you very much.
Oh no, Steve, thank you guys. I loved it. It was a great conversation.
All right, Steve, you got anything to say before we go out?
Much of what Neil said. I'm extremely grateful to have you. This has been an amazing conversation. I think our viewers are going to like this a lot, and we definitely have to do part 2.
Oh yeah, definitely. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, as always, boo. Take us out, Steve.